Welcome to another episode of Pacific Pathways, the podcast that connects the dots between community power, economic opportunity, and Philippine-made pride. I'm your host, Ferdinand Soriano, your number one Philippine-made product advocate and catalyst. And today's episode, well, it's called When the Community Wins, We All Win. And no, this isn't just a slogan we saw on a tote bag at a leadership seminar. This is actually the real deal, okay? We always talk about visibility, right? Representation and the importance of bringing Philippine-made products into the mainstream markets. But the truth is, you can't build real success in isolation. It takes collaboration, advocacy, and most importantly, okay, people, you're listening, leadership that understands the community from the inside out. That's why our guest today is not just appropriate for the show, she's essential to it. She isn't just a member of the Cerritos City Council. She's a living example of what it looks like when Filipino-American leadership shows up, speaks up, and helps shape the system that either includes us or overlooks us. When we talk about the BUYANIHAN Commerce Network and how we want to build stronger pathways for Philippine products and communities in the US, we need voices like hers, voices that are already doing the work at the city level, where policy meets the people. So today we've invited someone who embodies leadership with heart and strategy, but I won't give away too much. That's my co-host Sammy Sotelo's job. All right, so the second segment of our show is called Did You Know? Now, regarding Filipino-American nurses, the pillar of U.S. healthcare, did you know there's 4% versus 1%? Remember that. Imagine that, people. 4% versus 1%. Although Filipino-Americans make up only 1%, about 1% of the U.S. population, they constitute approximately 4% of registered nurses. That's meaning 1 in every 25 nurses is Filipino-American. And this is according to the National Nurses United and National Institute of Health. Just some historical roots, okay, in the U.S. colonization. Now, my research tells me that after the Spanish-American War, the Philippines became a U.S. colony in 1898. This led to the establishment of American model nursing schools and the training of Filipinos as nurses, again, according to the National Nurses United and National Institute of Health. And my last comment on that, in the same source I took it from, as U.S. nationals until 1946, many Filipinos were able to work or train in the U.S. freely, laying the groundwork for a robust pipeline of Filipino nurses seeking U.S. employment. All right. So, Sammy, my co-host, I know you're fired up, bro. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce our special guest, Mr. Sammy, sir.
And how you doing, my friend?
I am good. Thank you, man. So you made it. I know you're all the way right now in South Carolina. You got to your destination okay, bro?
You know what? I just spent 6.5 hours on the road. And
oh my God.
That's
a long time, bro. Just by yourself?
Man, yeah. Well, for most of it, it was, we're a few hours ahead of you guys on the East Coast over here. So I left the house at 1 p.m. to pick up my son and his wife flying in from California. But that was in Charlotte, right? And so Greenville to Charlotte is a good hour 45. Well, with traffic, it landed me right around 2 hours. Of course, picked them up and, took a little time to do that and get situated. And then on the way back, another 2 hours. So we got to drop them off. And then I had to shoot out to Columbia, which is another hour 45, call it hour 45 or so. And of course, as all things align, when you just don't need them to sometimes, I get stuck in traffic.
Nice, man. Well, I mean, maybe we could have done the podcast while you were just driving to keep you company, right?
Hey, man, I'm ready. I'm ready whenever.
Yeah. So why don't we get started with that? Sorry you had a long trip, bro. So hopefully you're energized to speak to our wonderful guest today. So I'm gonna, let you do the honors of introducing our guest, man.
You know, I was listening to what you're saying about, it, and I think you did a great job with it. You know, Linda is just an incredible person, and what I like about what I've read up on her is her role in the community. You know, being a councilwoman in Cerritos, and I just can't wait to talk about her. So I think what you said about her does it, justice, and I'd love to just go ahead and bring her on if that's okay with you, my friend.
Yeah, man. I think she's ready to go. I've been talking to her before the show, so
Awesome,
go
awesome.
ahead and I'll do the drum roll
Yeah.
and go ahead and introduce her, and I'll bring her on.
Everybody, welcome Miss Lynda Johnson.
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
Hiya,
Ferdinand
Linda.
and Sammy. How are you guys doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm excited to be on the show. It's my first time doing a podcast, so I'm honored to be doing it with you guys.
Well, we're
Oh,
excited to have you, and especially, we mentioned that you're, in the community, and so we wanted to kind of jump in if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when it comes to like public service and things like that, and being a Filipina in the community, especially in Cerritos, where there's so many, I don't know how. Do you know approximately how many Filipinos are in the community there?
Well, I know that the statistics say that 60% of the community is Asian, and of the Asian population, the majority of it is Filipinos. I don't know what
Mm.
those numbers are, but we are a
dang, that's a
city
lot of
of,
Filipinos.
yeah, it is. It's a city of 45,000 people.
Okay.
So there you could do the math from there. But
Sure.
surely it is. It is a lot of Filipinos living here in the city. You can tell by the restaurants and the markets, and even in the high schools. The clubs, the high schools have clubs like Club Kaibigan, Club Makaisa, Club Barkada. I mean, isn't that cool?
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
I can relate because I actually grew up in Orange County, not too far
Okay.
from Cerritos. I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Anaheim Hills in Yorba Linda area.
Okay.
Back then in the 70s and 80s, there were not that many Filipinos, but in Cerritos, I know the mall was always packed with
Yeah.
Filipinos.
Exactly. Exactly. There's no shortage of bagoong here, let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
By the way, speaking of bagong from what do you call it? I think I saw social media. I think the
mm,
US FDA said that they brought back the bagong or all the banana ketchup and stuff. So I don't
Yeah,
know how true
yes, the
that is.
Mang Tomas. They brought it.
Anyway, go
Oh my
ahead, Sammy.
gosh. I am happy again.
sharing the tastes and smells of our culture.
Right,
I
right.
love it. I love it. But getting back to the question is, because there's such a prominence of our culture in Cerritos, building up year after year, generation after generation. Now, it's maybe three generations deep on the average nowadays, right? It used to
Right.
be like my mom and dad were immigrants, but now it's like this generation is, well, their mom and dads are actually U.S. citizens,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's getting to the third culture, they call it, right? And
Right.
so the question really is like, well, being positioned in such a great spot, a beautiful city of Cerritos, and having this community that you serve, and being Filipina, what are the surprising challenges that you've faced that no one warned you about in this position so far?
Right. So just know that there are five of us on the council. It just so happens our mayor is Filipino. I'm the mayor pro tem. I'm Filipina, and we have another council member that's Filipino, and two other Asians that are both Taiwanese. So, but we serve everybody. We serve the entire population. We're just not focused on serving one over the other. But certainly, the challenges of being on this council is making sure that because we are so diverse, that we do serve the needs of every individual that is in this community. And it just so happens that I happen to be Filipino, and I push for like more Filipino centric events. Like we have Ube Fest that is coming to Cerritos. It was here last year, but now the city has formally adopted to host Ube Fest here in 2026 of April. But that's kind of the challenges I face, that is just making sure that I'm fair across the board. And also, some of the other surprising challenges I do have are just the amount of meetings that we're in. We're just not doing ribbon cuttings or photo ops. That we serve on many internal ad hoc committees as well as external organization meetings, and even in the nation, we serve on AAPI caucus groups and organizations. So it's just a lot of time spending with reading agendas or reports and budgets. That's the part that I face daily.
I really appreciate that because, yeah, I mean, Ferdinand will tell you this is not a political show at all. So it's,
Oh, man.
we are very much sort of just kind of down the middle, not affiliated with any party. But being that you are a public servant, this is not really, that sort of position, so to speak, but it's more of the fact that you have the opportunity to have some influence in all cultures. And going to what we talked about on our last podcast was these effects, the external events that have been happening around, especially in Los Angeles, and I'm sure it's reaching Cerritos with regards to these challenging times with ICE, right? Because yes, our brothers and sisters on the Latino side are, it's all over the news, but we are not exempt. So it's the challenge also from your position of public service is also, the welfare and well-being of our community. And if we talk about the resources, not only for just Filipinos, but for everybody, but just kind of like getting your pulse on, that where is, I guess, the mental health on the barometer in your opinion of concern. Yeah.
So, my day job actually is I'm the special assistant to Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn, who
Mhm.
serves the 4th District. The County of Los Angeles, the Board of Supervisors is actually the umbrella, right? Where we have all the departments from mental health, public health, sheriff's, fire, all of that. So it's our mental health department that does provide the resources for our community. Our city in itself does not have the resources. We're just not that big enough to provide to have staff to provide the mental resources, but we do have access to those resources. And that's what we do is we have a senior center, we have city hall that have connections to the county, and as well as myself, I work for the county to access help in that way. And because I had just mentioned to you the demographics of the city, being that we are mostly Asian, the impact of what's going on with the current climate, not so much affecting our city, but it does affect our neighboring cities.
Mm.
However, I do want to point out back in 2020, when it was the start of COVID and there was a lot of Asian hate. So, because Cerritos is a high population of Asians, we did experience Asian hate here, and we did, as a city, mobilize and had a Stop Asian Hate event at our park, and we had mental health professionals out there and speakers and resource booths, and we even had speakers that had been victims of Asian hate, and one of them was a Filipino man named Cesar Echano, who was walking our park here in Cerritos and was beaten because of being Asian. But that's when our community did come together to
Wow.
provide and that kind of support. But we're ready as a city. Should any of our residents do face those, challenges of the current climate of what's going on, we as a city are there to support.
So what did you learn from that experience during those times of the Asian hate? It's not too far from what's happening
Right,
now, but
right.
what are some of the things that you've learned that you can share with today's issues?
That a community, when they do come together, can do a lot. I really saw it through there. It was like the community was united, no matter what ethnic background you were. We just didn't have Asians attending this anti-Asian event. It was everybody from the
Mm,
community of all demographics. And that's where I found it was a lot of love going around at that time,
mm, mm.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So that's what I found.
if there were a family that has been affected by these issues with ICE and whatnot,
Mhm,
and they have trouble processing it, right? Either their
mhm.
mother or their father was taken away, or they have concerns about going outside. They can't do their regular routine every day. What would your message be to them?
I would say to them that know your rights. There, we as a county, we do provide information on them knowing their rights, and then to just have them follow, what is told to them on what to do. Don't try to go the other way and you know do something that's not appropriate. So I would say to them, and then seek out also the city for resources. Like I said, we do have
Mhm.
a lot. It's just a matter of getting those resources and contacting those agencies.
So how do they do that? Is it a website? Is there a phone number?
Yes, we have a website. The city of Cerritos has a website, and we do have a main number to City Hall.
Do you mind sharing that with our
Oh yeah,
listeners?
city of
They can listen
yeah,
to it. Hmm.
city of Cerritos.gov, I believe. City of
Okay.
Cerritos, yes. And the main number, I should know the main number, but I don't. I call everybody by their on their personal cell phone. Oh my
Well, I'm
gosh, you
sure the
caught me
phone
off
number is
guard.
on the
You
web.
caught me off guard.
I'm
Yes.
well. I'm sure the phone number is on the website, so
Yes, it
that's
is.
fine.
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And I was telling Ferdinand last time we spoke on it. I didn't have like a direct experience with it, unlike what he
Mm-hmm.
had experiences in his own. Not too far from where he lived, and it was an issue, especially coming off of our Independence Day celebrations. It's one of
Oh,
yeah,
I
and it
didn't
was
know that.
really yeah, it was an ironic type of timing. That whole weekend was just of course is carrying over into today. And so one of the things we wanted to kind of like just touch on was what resources could our community be able to take advantage of when it comes to offices like yours or some places that you can point them to. So thank you for that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we move on with our conversation, the purpose of Pacific Pathways is to really, really unify the Filipinos, to help support one another, through products, through services, through, just engaging with one another and helping our footprint grow via
Mhm.
products. And Ferdinand can probably talk more about the BUYANIHAN Commerce Network,
Mhm.
but I'd love to hear your ideas when it comes to that. Things like products out there. What would you say are the top? Would you, in your opinion, maybe a top 3 products that people can really, really latch onto
Mhm.
to help distribute throughout the U.S.?
So, it's interesting as I go to a lot of more Filipino events, and I see a lot of attendees that are more of my generation. Um, there's a lot of Filipiniana, modern Filipiniana
Hmm.
that's being worn, and I was really impressed with it because growing up, the Filipiniana my parents wore was just not of any interest to me. Right, that
Mhm.
my mother
True.
wore. Now I see it, it's a lot more modern. I'm even more proud to wear it. Whereas
Hmm.
before I'm not inclined to wear it. So I like to see that. I the different textiles, the fabrics, the design, it's more focused on today's fashion. So that's what I'd like to see more of. And in fact, I keep looking on Google or searching places where I can go shop for these products. And it just so happens here in the city of Artesia, which is next door to Cerritos,
Hmm.
there's Noble Creations that has a store just of Filipiniana
Ah.
merchandise. So I like seeing that. I also like seeing just the food. Like I said, we talked earlier. I want to make sure that when I go to the market, there's my bagong and my mang tomas, the products that I use daily. Because I'll tell you, growing up here in the '70s in Cerritos, there were no Asians. I was the only
Mm,
brown skinned person in my class in
mm,
fourth grade. And just to even buy what do you call this, toyo soy sauce, or
Hmm.
and ingredients, we had to go to Chinatown.
Hmm.
They weren't sold here in Cerritos. Now you see it even mainstream at Ralph's Market,
I can
right?
relate to that. I can
Yeah,
relate to
yeah,
that so
really
much.
interesting. I've
Hmm.
seen it. I've seen that over the past 50 years that I've lived here. The
And I like
changes.
it. I like it because I really think that our culture, our food in particular. You mentioned our cuisine. It's such
Yes,
a savorous, delicious
it
menu
is.
that, oh my
Yes,
goodness, and
yeah.
it's on the verge of being really discovered. On a greater scale. You have so
Mm-hmm.
many Filipino restaurants happening because I remember like what you were saying growing up. I
Uh-huh.
mean, when you cook dried my mom cooked for dried fish in the
Yes.
house and your
Yes.
friends were over there, they're like, okay, what's that?
Right?
you know
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
but and then you get into the other more palatable things like adobo or maybe kare
Yeah.
kare, but the thing is, they're discovering it, and it's
Yeah.
such a great thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes, yes. And I want our youth to grow up knowing our culture, right? And not to be embarrassed by it. Growing up, I was the minority, so I was kind of
Mm,
embarrassed to eat rice and adobo
mm,
in front of
mm.
my friends. But you know what? Now I'm proud to eat kamayan in front of everybody. I don't
I
care.
love it.
I
I
don't care
love
who's
it.
around.
Maybe that's what this is about. Maybe this
Mm-hmm.
message is to really say, hey, consciously share
Mm-hmm.
things like Kamayan or just
Yes.
fashion, or talk about it,
Yes.
have
Yes.
it become a forefront of a conversation.
Right.
I'm proud to be Filipino, and I'm proud that many of our hospitals are staffed by Filipino
Oh
nurses,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that and even them bringing their things that they cook from home to share with their coworkers,
They
that's,
do.
yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah,
And
that's what
so,
they do. Yeah.
yeah, so I think maybe that would be a great message for today's podcast, is to share the message,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
share the food especially.
Share. Exactly. And what other than food unites people and bring them together, right? It's always food. Breaking bread, right?
I agree,
Yeah.
and there's 4 million Filipinos throughout the United States,
Uh-huh.
and there's 6 million Chinese. And just as a comparison, the food culture for the Chinese is just so much more known in the United States. But
Mm-hmm.
why not Filipino?
Why not
Why
Filipino? And
not?
what's really interesting in the last couple of events we had in the city of Cerritos, for the first time ever, when we had the mayoral transition, and we had the transition of Mayor Frank Yokoyama become mayor. He's Filipino Japanese, and we had pancit and lumpia. We even had lechon.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. I
we
love
did.
it. People
Yeah.
are saying, "What's lechon?"
Yes, yes. So that's what I hope to bring, right? To just get people to understand our culture, not just our culture, but I embrace all the other cultures that are here in Cerritos. We have a strong Indian culture
Hmm.
here, and
Hmm.
many Indian restaurants, and of course the Chinese restaurants as well. And folks go and try these out, and hopefully we also bring merchandise, Philippine merchandise. I want to attract tourism to our city, where they can say, they need to buy something that's Philippine made. I want it to be here in Cerritos. That's what I hope to do here in Cerritos. I even want an SM store here
I
if
know
we
you
could.
you you
Yeah.
mentioned you mentioned that before.
Yes,
That's a good segue
yes.
that I want to
Mm.
ask you, since we're getting close to our 30 minutes.
Uh,
I really enjoyed the conversation between you and Sammy.
uh-huh.
Um, my question before we end it is that, speaking of trade, that's what I wanted to ask you. In the city of Cerritos, Linda,
Uh-huh.
if you could partner, because we talked about this, and I love the culture and I
Mhm,
love everything that you guys both have said.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, I feel like the one thing that I don't, what I also believe in is creating. Remember what we're saying about the city, like, you had some sort of a pushback when it comes to
mhm.
even trying to develop a sister city,
Correct.
because at the end we're always just trying to figure out how do we make it equitable for everybody also.
Right.
It's great to represent our culture, but we do actually need to go beyond that. And that's why I wanted to ask you, if you could partner directly with a city in the Philippines, what kind of impact would you want to see, not just the culture or the education, but like in trade,
Right.
what it's, in people's lives, how do you want it to impact here? Because remember, we were talking about doing a sister city.
Yes, yes, and yeah. Fortunately, I'm going to be going to the Philippines on a VIP tour with the consulate's office of the Philippines and the Department of Tourism. And so, my goal there is to look into what products that they have there that are supported by their local government, and what we could bring here to our city in Cerritos. I know sister cities, for the most part, are usually culture focused. I want ours to be more focused and on trade and commerce, and I want it us to be the destination spot where we are selling products, making money for the city as well, and making money for the business as well, right? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
everybody's a winner here.
Yeah,
And
no,
and not
that's
only that, the consumer is a winner, right? They don't have to go to
exactly.
the Philippines. They don't have to go to the Philippines to buy the banig. You know what I'm saying? They
because
can
the,
buy it
because at
here.
the end of the day, when it comes to like I said, with the way you do your job, I mean, it's one
Uh-huh.
thing, obviously you're Filipino, so of course you're going to have a
Yes.
little bit of a, not a favoritism, but lean into it because that's your culture. But at
Uh,
the end of the day, you and I have talked about off mic, I guess, about having to try to create something for the city as a whole.
mm-hmm.
You can unite everybody, but having a system and how to do that with these sister cities. Because
Yes.
again, culture is great and I love it. The food, everything that comes with it. But you're also having to address all the other cultures because obviously if you support them, the community of Cerritos, then everybody sort of just plays into it. So with that being said, I know you and I have talked about BUYANIHAN Commerce Network. I
Yes.
know I've given you a little bit of what do you think of that? I mean, as far as a platform, not only could it be useful for Filipinos, but I feel like if the system can be implemented in such a way, I think all their cultures can adapt it to whatever they need to do because the whole thing is based on community.
It is. And it's just so timely that I connected with you, Ferdinand, because when I found out I was going on this trip to the Philippines to establish a sister city, and I remembered that you are doing, the Bayanihan. And I want, that's why I reached out to you. Yeah, and we've talked about it. And that's something I think your platform is um, a great way for us to get kickstarted. Why should we have to try to figure it out when you've already figured it out for us? So that's why after this trip, I'm going to definitely connect with you again on next steps on how we move forward and what we are looking for. But you gave me some great tips on what to look for over there as well.
Well, Sammy and I, the reason why this is sort of came about that because he has the same passion as why we're
Mm-hmm.
doing this podcast because our goal was really to create the unity with the community. And again, the vision is, we start with the Filipino because we're Filipino, right? I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, but it's just about the spirit that we're always trying to achieve. And that's why Sammy, out of his busy time, he still managed to go ahead and give us some of his time to do this because at the
Mhm.
end he's in the same spirit, right, Sammy?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I just have a dream of our culture just, spreading
Well,
visibly.
well, not just this culture too, right? I mean, it just so happens I am Filipino, so the first country I'm going to think of is the Philippines. Certainly, there's India, there's China. We can do
Mhm.
that as well, but we got to start somewhere.
Sure.
So it's not going to just stop here. We're trying to form partnerships with other goods from the Philippines. It's goods from other countries as well,
Hey,
and that's what I want.
if you have time, perhaps you can visit the province of Capiz. We are the
Oh,
seafood capital of the Philippines, and that could
wow.
be a perfect product to
Okay.
export directly from Capiz, as well as Capiz shells.
Oh, I love the capiz shells. I
Yes.
do. Growing up, I didn't
Yeah.
like it. Now I like it. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
They're
it's
Yes.
actually
beautiful.
back, right? I mean, the whole thing. I mean, we used to have that too in my house.
Yeah.
The
Who
the
doesn't have it?
chandelier,
The
the lighting.
chandelier. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well,
Or the placemat.
that's where it's from. So
Okay.
that could be a great signature for you all to take a
Yeah.
look. Yeah.
Yes. No, but I mean, after, like I said, speaking with Ferdinand about this, he just opened my mind up to so many potential things we could be doing in the future, and I'm excited about it.
I love it. Thank you so
Yes,
much. I love
yes,
it.
yes. Thank you.
All right. So, Sammy, I think we have a business spotlight before we end the show.
We do. Did we have our little drum roll or?
I'll do it. We don't have any budget in this show, so we got to make do with
Okay.
we got to make do with whatever goofy stuff we could use. So that was your drum roll, bro.
All right. This business spotlight is brought to you by Cappy's Coffee Roasters, founded in Ponte Vedra, Capiz, and focusing on Robusta coffee for our community. Today's business spotlight is focusing on Cucina Filipina.
Oh,
It's co-owned and operated by June Miranda and
yes.
Claire Ramos. You know them
I
too?
know them. Yes. Oh my God. Shout out to June.
Well, I actually chose this business in particular because of today's podcast, knowing it's in
Uh-huh.
Cerritos, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
we wanted to give them a shout out. And
Awesome.
yeah, they are unique or actually engaged in the community.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of information here that I wanted to share with folks that they are a well known local Filipino business community and active in the Filipino-American Chamber of Commerce as well.
They are. Yes.
Yes, and that's so great. And their business, of course, is focused on Filipino food,
Mm-hmm.
like pork barbecue, chicken. We talked about lumpiang Shanghai, lechon
Mm-hmm.
kawali, and the grilled prawns. And so I just love the idea that they are focusing on signature Filipino comfort foods. And if folks want to check them out, I'm sure Linda will give her endorsement to that.
Absolutely. They have the best food. And the best thing is
Hey.
when at night they have
All right,
dancing.
it's only 5 p.m. here. I'm getting out to dinner. Sammy. How fast does it get to do I get to Casino Filipina? You're making me hungry. Damn you, Sammy.
So
Come
let
dine in
me
Cerritos.
give them a phone number to call Cucina Filipina. It is 562-219-7919. You can call them and they do catering as well. So kudos to Cucina Filipina, brought to you by Cappy's Coffee Roasters. Thank you very much.
All right, cool. So
Thank
that
you.
is 5:02. We promise we won't try to do any Filipino time, but at the same time, I do want to go ahead and properly end the show by saying first, Linda, do you have any parting comments?
No, I'm just thankful for this opportunity to share what I envision doing here in Cerritos and working, to bring products through Bayanihan and working with you guys. I'm really excited about it.
Very cool, very cool. So, with that being said, Sammy, before I do my outro, as they say, you got any parting comments, sir?
Oh, I just love it. I just love the whole, how it came down to the message of just share it, just share who you are as a Filipino and be proactive and engage and support one another. Maybe it's time to actively, just one day during the week go to a Filipino restaurant you've never been to.
There you
Oh yeah,
go. Yep.
I
I mean,
encourage.
yeah, makes your tummy happy, makes the community happy, the culture happy.
We
That
are
business
simple.
owner.
Exactly.
We
Yeah,
are simple
it's
people.
it's
There you
crazy.
go.
It's
There you go.
crazy. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my end of the show kind of a speech, and basically that wraps up today's episode of Pacific Pathways. We hope this conversation sparks some new thoughts about leadership, community, and how we can all play a role in building something bigger together. I was joined today by Sammy Sotelo and also the ever effervescent Lynda P. Johnson, the Mayor Pro Tem of Cerritos. Now, if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, please, and follow us for more conversations that connects the dots between culture, commerce, and community power. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another meaningful episode, so stay tuned, stay connected, and as always, let's keep moving forward together. Maraming salamat and see you next time.
Maraming salamat. Thank you.